Coach, good to see you again as always.
Great to see you.
I tell you what, I enjoyed talking to those young men. I'd never been to Orlando before. I felt like I'd known the little Langley brothers since back I met them over at Northeast Guilford about 5 or 6 years ago. One night Mr. Bridges said, once you meet the prodigies, the kids are going to be leading this area in the years to come. So I met those guys back then, and then I met Orlando I met Cayman before. Cayman, outstanding young man, and just got a chance to talk to Orlando. Orlando, sharp young man too. We like having him in here. It's kind of neat. You get to see these guys in a different setting.
Yes, it's a great group. I really love that group with Terrell Leach and those, and that was a good group in its own right, but this group has been really special. They get along really well. If you see one of them, you see several of them. They interact really well, and I get compliments all day about them around the school. And
yeah, I saw Cayman walked in before the game, and I had the glasses on. I thought, is this the same guy? No, very professional, very intellectual looking. And I read his article in the paper a while back. We had to interview the one-on-one for the News and Record, maybe back in November, December. I just enjoyed reading and learning more about those kids that way.
They seem to have a lot of different interests, and they tell me all kind of things. We try to do some things with them. We had a little Super Bowl party over at Miguel's house this past weekend, and we'll do something. We try to do a little something every few weeks.
I'll tell you one thing. Cayman sounds like he likes that entrepreneurial class. That sounds interesting.
Yes, yeah, it's my favorite one to teach. I teach multimedia and web page design also, but the entrepreneur stuff is pretty good, and to be able to get that at the high school age, I wish I could have had some of that.
Certainly. He talked about he owns about 30 or more pair of shoes. He's big into shoes.
They're schooling me right now. I had no idea. Had a girl today in his class tell me she paid $1,600 for a pair of shoes, and so they can trade them and do stuff. And my dad gave me a fit one time because I told him I wanted him to get me a pair of $17 Nikes, and they had just come out, the Oceana blue.
Yeah, back when we were younger, $600 buys us a very nice car.
Yes.
Get a good used car for that price back in the day. In Cayman, I think he said he's paid $230 maybe for a pair of shoes, but $1,600 for a pair of shoes.
Yeah. I had no idea.
I'd like to see that pair of shoes and just find out who made those and what they're made of. Your team has been made of some good qualities. Had that nice run to start the year, dropped the game the other night, but you guys are going to start a new run tomorrow night.
Yeah, like I said, this has been a really special group. A lot of people were kind of underestimating us. I think at the beginning of the year, we are really young.
What they wondered, I'll jump in a lot here too. You make some great points I can touch on as well. I think people kind of wonder, how would the young players mesh with the older players?
Absolutely. We've got 3 freshmen and 3 sophomores there on our varsity, and so I don't think we knew what to expect. That's why we tried to throw all those games in the summer. So we ended up playing 35 games in June in 2.5 weeks.
In June.
Yes.
Wow.
So they kind of got thrown into the fire. Yes. So it was quite a bit, but most of the guys made most of the games. But we do that so we can get a look at several guys. So even if some of the people that didn't quite make it, we got to take a look at them and see how they do in a game situation.
You look at the playoff possibilities. What do you have to do to get deep in the playoffs?
I was talking. I bounce off of different coaches, and I talked a little bit to Freddie Johnson. I've talked a little bit to Coach Price. I've talked a little bit to Howard West. I've talked to just about everybody I can talk to, and they're just saying, it's kind of survive in advance. Just get through that first round and kind of get the jitters off and try to find a rhythm, find a few things that's going. Hopefully, you draw some teams that haven't been watching you all year, and the ball's kind of bounce your way, but kind of stay to what you're doing. Don't try to overdo it. Kind of save your legs as you get ready for practice.
In the past, what's hurt you? What's hurt you in the past?
I think we've jumped out the big leads, kind of like we did the other night, and I think we just did not manage it down the stretch. I think we may have relaxed a little bit, and then I think we like to play that up and down style. I think we may have pressured a little too early, didn't have enough left to quite finish. So we get first, second round, into the game. Last 2 years we've lost by 2 points each time. So it's been kind of swallowed. So we're just looking to get over that hump. And I think you've seen it with a lot of teams where they just get there, and finally they get over the edge. And I think this is hopefully our year to get over it.
Who would you say the go-to guy is on your team? There's got to be a go-to guy late in the game. You guys look at him maybe to take over. You got to get that bucket. We need that one bad, whether it be a 3 or be a 2.
Well, it kind of depends on the nature of the game. Usually we put it in Cameron's hands and make the decision. He's been up there in assists the last couple of years as one of the top assist guys, so so he usually makes a pretty good decision, and he doesn't mind taking the last shot. However, Kamen ends up being a tough one too because he can play with his back to the basket. You kind of go in there, and usually he gets fouled. He's a pretty good free throw shooter.
Three-point play.
So I don't mind either one of those guys. But surprisingly enough, the young guys don't mind taking that shot either. So haven't had too many close ones this year, but
yeah, Kobe said he's a scorer, and I think Keyshawn said he's more of a distributor. But Kobe said that's what he's after, for a scorer.
Absolutely. I told him that at the beginning of the year. I told both he and Orlando. I said I think these other guys can score, and one of the great things about it is putting 5 kids on the court that can score, especially at our level. But it's he and Orlando's job to score, so we're expecting that from them nightly.
How was Northwest able to come back and steal that game from you at Mature Place?
Well, I think people think that it didn't happen to the second half, but at the end of the first half, I saw a little bit of a letdown. We stretched it out to 20, and the momentum started going like that. And to be honest with you, I think it was Reggie Davis. Reggie just stepped up. I mean, he had some big shots, and they got a little momentum going. They had a nice crowd in there, and before we stopped the bleeding, they had scored 31 or 33 points in that quarter, and we had an uncharacteristic 9. So, I mean, we still got up to 80, which is remarkable, to score 9 points in that third quarter.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
So I think
Reggie wasn't as involved at their place against you.
He wasn't.
He might be like Orlando said, one of the other players. He might be the X factor for Northwest Guilford.
Yes, I think it's a lot that, and then the Hennigan guy. I mean, he just makes a difference. He really gets in there, and he's not afraid to stick his nose in there, and he doesn't back down off of anybody. So he kind of gets them going, and once they get that momentum go, they're kind of tough to stop.
Coach Guy Shaver is with us, Southwest Guilford. Take us back to UNCG back in those days. What did that experience mean to you, and how that helped Greensboro kind of become your home?
It was a great experience for me. In fact, when we played Ragsdale over at Ragsdale, our old AD Nelson Bob showed up at the game. He wanted to take a look and see what we're doing. So, I mean, it was just nice. It was comfortable. You know, they've grown that university. I was shocked when I went over there last year and saw how much they've grown it. But it was very homey. You know, you could go in there and kind of get your feet in wet. We were the first team to play in that building there on campus.
Oh, the big Fleming gym.
Yes, they had left from over there at the little log cabin and kind of moved over there into the Fleming. So that was a wonderful time in my life.
How about your time spent with Coach Revis at Glenn? I remember seeing you guys at East Carolina several years ago, regional basketball games. You guys at one time were assistants there, and he maybe later on became a head coach there. Time spent with Coach Revis.
Revis was, he actually was the one that talked me into coming over to Glenn with him, and we worked really good. We hang out sometimes on Friday nights. He and myself and Coach Shoemaker will go grab a bite to eat at Carolina Diner. But good man, really good coach. Does a pretty good job of making adjustments, and the kids really gravitate to him over the years. So we had the Eric Wallaces and the Marshall Moseses and that group.
The big Brandon Jacobs kid too.
Yes.
He was the big man back in the day, right?
Big Jacobs, yes.
Wow. What about your time spent at the Sportsplex? How did that help mold your career?
Well, it gave me management skills. I mean, and I think that comes out big time in coaching. You know, a lot of times they just see that you have a team and you think you run around, but there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that you have no idea. And managing 108,000 square feet is not an easy task all the time, especially at that time we had limited resources. So you have several things going on at one time, and you have people tugging at you, and on a much smaller scale, that's kind of what we do here in high school basketball, because we're in charge of both the varsity and the JV and checking grades and doing all kind of other things. So I think those management skills really come handy.
Can a loss be good, and is it better to get that loss now or later, like we say?
Well, I mean, I know people always say that. I'm hoping that's the case. I kind of feel like that's the case. I think it kind of woke us up. I think, I told you we played those 35 games, and then we played 5 preseason games. So if you do the math, we won 62 straight games because we won all of those preseason games and the ones during the summer. So to play 62 games, I think the guys, we may have all gotten a little complacent, just thinking some kind of way we were going to shake up the bottle and it was going to go our way.
Then we got some confidence. You guys do believe in winning, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
I guess that SWG, the W might stand for West and stand for winning as well. How do you set things up and run things now with just 3 weeks left in the year?
Well, we broke our season down before the season to 4 quarters. And so, after our game 2 in Central, that will start that 4th quarter, and hopefully we can get those last 8 in. I mean, if we're playing 8 more games, then we're playing for a ring. So
That's what you're playing for, yeah, no doubt.
So we kind of tried to chop that season up so it seemed a little more digestible.
If you were not involved with basketball, what do you think you'd be doing?
Something in business. I was a business major. I majored in finance at UNCG. I was in banking before even the sportsplex. I did that for almost 10 years.
Wow.
So I really enjoyed that just as much as I do the sport. So that's kind of the entrepreneurship and all of that. Got a couple of ideas and things I'm working on. So
Keep those in the back burner. Yeah, those would be good when you get through your education work. Cam Newton won the MVP award. Should he give the award back after his team took the loss and had not much success on Sunday? Should he return that award now?
I think it's kind of a seasonal award. You know, a few years ago, I got a couple of awards. I guess I'm a little biased, and we got bounced in the second round. We lost to Reagan that year, but winning 27 games was a chore. We won 27 before we lost one, and I think in Cam's case, it's going to be a growing point for him. I think a lot of people beat him up pretty bad with that Super Bowl, and being a quarterback, that kind of comes with the territory. But you know, adversity doesn't build character; it reveals it. So eventually, I think Cam is going to learn. You know, come win, lose, or draw. You know, you still got to show up and stand up and be that guy. And I think he's grown into that. And I think Mr. Richardson has a big say in that. You know, in this day of tattoos and all kind of other things, you know, he's really stayed pretty clean. So I mean, I think he took a huge step this year. Nobody saw this. You couldn't have told me if you'd lost Benjamin that you'd be playing for a Super Bowl. So, I mean, he's really, you know, that year we won those 27 games. I had to take that in perspective, and I focused a lot more on the 27 rather than the 1.
Absolutely.
And I think that Cam got everything he deserved this year.
What about the Northwest Guilford girls? Do they run the table? Can they run that table?
I think they can. You know, before Coach Revis, I spent time with Coach Joyner, and great coach. And Coach Joyner has won at everything she's done. Won softball state championship. Went to the championship game this year in volleyball,
Sure
and now you're talking about this. So all she does is win. So I'm definitely not going to put it past her. And I think last year is going to help her a lot, navigating the waters. So I like her coming out of the West. Tough out in the hillside and southeast Raleigh. I know people are surprised that I know that, but I'm a basketball junkie. So, you know, Millbrook. I mean, she's gonna. I mean, it's not a give me, but I think she's prepared, and she's got a good young group over there, and she's kind of gotten that winning culture going there.
Coach, we thank you for your time tonight. As always, outstanding job. Keep those 5 men together. And Kimberly and Michael, the two we need to shout out to Kimberly and Michael tonight, too. Keep those two in order and keep them working hard.
Yes, sir. I appreciate all you guys are doing for us.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Good work as always.
All right.
Change rooms here for Thursday, and we're going to transition. Coach Steele will be in next. I think Coach Steele is in the house, and we've got him coming in. Let's get Coach Steele up here next to Shane's Rib Shack for a Thursday night from Northeast Guilford. We're doing well tonight. I think we're in good shape.